hadn't slept properly in months. Grief does that to you. It hollows you out slowly, like water carving stone. I worked nights because silence felt easier than daylight. The world was quieter after midnight. No questions, no pity, just me and the hum of empty streets. My apartment felt too big after she died. Every corner reminded me of something that would never happen again. Dinner for one, 2 untouched mugs, 1 extra shadow on the wall that never moved. I took the job at the old medical archive to keep myself busy, to stop thinking. Everyone said the abandoned hospital next door was cursed. I didn't care. I needed the money. I needed the distraction. Loneliness makes you reckless, and silence can feel like permission to walk into places you were never meant to enter.
Every night, I walked the same cracked sidewalk past the boarded windows of the hospital. Wind pushed old paper across the road like nervous animals. Inside the archive building, fluorescent lights flickered and buzzed overhead. I sorted old patient files, typed, filed, drank bitter coffee from a chipped mug. Routine kept me steady. Around 2:17 a.m. every night, the emergency light on the abandoned hospital's roof flicked on for exactly 3 seconds. I noticed it the first week, figured it was faulty wiring. Old buildings do that, I told myself. Still, every time the red light flashed, my stomach tightened for no reason I could explain. Once I thought I heard a soft metallic bang from inside the hospital. Doors shifting in the wind. That was all. I laughed it off. Uneasy feelings don't always mean danger. Sometimes they just mean you're tired.
The first truly wrong thing happened on a Tuesday. I was locking up when I saw movement behind the hospital's 3rd floor window. A figure, pale and still, standing where no one should be. The building had no power, no access, no safety clearance. I stared for a full minute. The figure lifted its head. The light on the roof flashed red. Then the window went dark again. My hands shook so hard, I dropped my keys. I told myself it was a reflection, a trick of tired eyes. The next night, it happened again. Same window, same shape, same stillness. It didn't move like a person waiting. It stood like something placed, displayed. I began leaving work earlier, locking doors twice, watching shadows stretch in ways shadows shouldn't. Fear had found me quietly, and it was learning my schedule.
Sounds followed me now. Slow, dragging noises through dead hallways. Soft thumps beneath broken floors. I felt watched every second I passed the hospital. Even when I ran, the feeling stayed glued to my spine. Once I saw footprints in dust near a boarded entrance. Bare footprints, fresh, leading inside. None leading out. I started checking over my shoulder constantly. Sometimes I caught my reflection in dark windows and nearly screamed. My own face looked unfamiliar in the fear. The red roof light began flashing twice some nights, 3 times others, always at 2:17. I stopped sleeping entirely. When I closed my eyes, I saw that window, that shape, waiting. My coworkers joked that abandoned hospitals were full of restless patients. I didn't laugh. I felt like the hospital wasn't abandoned at all. I felt like it was awake, and it knew my name. I finally broke and went inside. I don't know why. Curiosity, desperation, a need to prove I wasn't losing my mind. The main doors were chained, but the emergency side entrance hung loose. Inside, the air smelled like mold and old blood. My flashlight shook in my hand. Beds were still lined in rusted rows. IV stands leaned like bones. Then, I heard my name. Soft, familiar, my wife's voice. My knees nearly gave out. I followed it down the corridor, past operating rooms, past patient rooms still labeled with names. At the end of the hall, under the blinking red emergency light, stood her shape.
But her face was wrong. Her eyes were too wide, her smile stretched too far. And when she spoke again, her voice came from all around the room, not from her mouth. "You finally came home." I ran. My boots slammed against tile that shattered beneath my feet. Doors I had passed on the way in were now sealed shut with twisted metal. The voice followed me, soft and patient. Footsteps echoed behind mine. Too many footsteps. I tried the stairwell. The door slammed on its own, inches from my face. My flashlight died. Darkness swallowed everything. I smelled cold breath against my neck. Something brushed my shoulder. I bolted blindly through hallways that bent in impossible directions. Windows showed only blackness. Exit signs pointed back toward the operating wing, no matter which way I turned. My lungs burned. My heart stuttered like it wanted to escape my chest. I screamed. The sound disappeared into the walls. The hospital wasn't just blocking my way out. It was moving me exactly where it wanted me. Nothing made sense anymore. Corridors stretched and collapsed like living veins. I saw my wife's face in every reflective surface, smiling, watching, whispering. I couldn't tell if I was running or standing still. My thoughts shattered into short, terrified fragments. Breathe, turn, hide, don't listen, don't remember. I covered my ears, but the voice crawled inside my head anyway. It told me things only she knew. Our first date, the night she died, the words she never finished saying. My knees buckled. I sobbed like a child on a cold floor that smelled of disinfectant and decay. Shadows gathered at the edge of my vision. Shapes moved without bodies. I didn't know if I was in the hospital anymore or somewhere inside my own grief. Fear had become the only thing that felt real. The truth found me in the operating theater. I recognized the table, the stains. I had taken her here the night of the accident. I remembered the doctor's eyes when he told me they couldn't save her. The voice whispered behind me again, "You left me here." I turned slowly. The thing wearing her face stood inches away. Its skin sagged like wet fabric. Surgical scars mapped its body in frantic lines. Behind it, dozens of figures rose from the shadows. Patients without eyes, without mouths, without names, all watching me. I understood then. This place didn't release pain. It collected it. It fed on loss. It kept what was broken so it could break more. And I had brought the deepest wound of all right to its door. There was no escaping something that had already claimed me years before. They came at once. Hands grabbed my arms, my legs. Cold, desperate fingers pulling me backward toward the operating table. I kicked and screamed until my throat tore raw. My wife's face hovered above mine, inches away, her expression loving and hungry at the same time. I felt straps tightening around my wrists, leather biting into skin. The overhead surgical lights flickered on one by one, blinding white. I saw tools laid out beside me, rusted, stained, waiting. The figures circled like silent nurses. Something sharp pressed into my chest. I screamed. For her, for God, for anyone. The lights pulsed red. The scent of iron filled the air. Pain tore through me in white fire. My vision shattered into fragments of memories and blood and light. And through it all, her voice stayed tender. "Stay with me. Don't leave me again." I didn't die. That was the worst part. I woke strapped to a bed in the same abandoned room where it all began. My chest was stitched closed with thick, uneven thread. Something inside me throbbed that hadn't been there before.
The figures were gone. The room was silent. I tried to scream, but only a wet whisper came out. When I caught my reflection in a cracked mirror, my eyes were too wide. My smile stretched too far. The red emergency light blinked overhead. I felt footsteps approaching the hallway again. Slow, curious, searching. I understood then what I had become, what the hospital needed me to be. A lure. A familiar face for the next lonely soul who walked past at 2:17 a.m., and somewhere deep inside this stolen body, I could still feel myself screaming as I lifted my head to the window and waited for someone to notice the light.